Hi students, welcome to our World Religion session. Today we start examining and studying a new world religion. We are beginning our study in the religion of Sikhism. A few things to say here at the start, a few caveats that I just want to get out of the way. Firstly, I'm no expert in Sikhism. Throughout this year I've read a couple of books and I've been working hard to study up on the core tenets of Sikhism. However, I'm no expert, so it's likely I'll say things throughout this series that might be minor mistakes or minor missteps. So, for those of you who are sick by conviction, or if you know more than me, or you know that I've made a mistake, please do let me know. I really want to know that, so that going forward I can grow my knowledge of this world religion, and so that I can do a better job teaching about it as well. So, another thing to say here as we get started, as we come to the study of Sikhism, there's going to be some aspects of this section of the course that are very different to the previous world religions we've studied. We've studied so far Islam, atheism, Roman Catholicism, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Mormonism. Now, one of the things that each of these worldviews has had in common is that they've all been closely related to Christianity in one way or another. Even atheism, as we consider the objections made by atheists, many of them have to do with a Christian view of God. Now, Islam, for example, claims to be a continuation of the Old and New Testaments. Roman Catholicism, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Mormons, they're all, in one way or another, a perversion of Christianity. Now, as we come to the study of Sikhism, we're going to be in new waters. We're looking at an Eastern religion with a very different worldview and theological perspective. So things are going to be quite different here as we engage in this study. One of the things that means is that throughout the early parts of this section of the course, we're going to be doing a lot of work simply trying to understand the core tenets of Sikhism. Like I said, it's very different to Western or Semitic religions, which means before we can really start engaging the core tenets and theology of the faith, and challenging some of the ideas, we really need to wrap our heads around this religion. And it's really quite different to the religions we've studied thus far. So, with those things in mind, the goal of today's lesson is to give a very brief overview of some of the things that we're going to be looking at throughout this section of the course. So, today's lesson, Sikhism An Overview. The big idea that we're going to see today is that Sikhism is an Eastern religion and worldview with its own theology and philosophy of God and the world. I've already mentioned that this religion is quite different to the studies we've done thus far. So one of the goals and focuses of today's lesson is to give a broad overview of Sikhism and lay some foundations for the direction we're going to be heading in the near future. So I've got some introductory material that we're going to work through. You can find these notes on ThinkWave, so make sure you check there. But we're going to work through this today and consider some of the basics here. So, introduction. Sikh is a word which means learner or disciple. The Sikh is a learner or disciple of their gurus. And in order to understand Sikhism, we must understand their relationship to gurus. The Sikhs follow the teaching of 10 gurus, whom we will learn more about going forward. Oh, one other caveat just to put in here. My pronunciation is probably going to be very bad as I try to pronounce some of the words throughout this section of the course. Most of my study of Sikhism has been through reading books, and one of the things that happens when you do most of your study through reading books is that you don't hear how words are pronounced necessarily. I already learned one thing that was a correction in terms of pronunciation. So far, I'd been saying Sikh as though it was spelt like this, Seek. Um, and from reading, I heard that that's wrong and that it's pronounced more like the English word sick. So that was helpful to hear that. So I'll try remember to pronounce the title, the name of the religion correctly. So going forward here then, on the left-hand side here over here, this is the symbol of Sikhism, and it depicts the Sikh doctrine of Deg Tig Fateh in emblematic form. This phrase here means victory to charity and alms, which emphasizes the dual responsibility to provide for the needy and fight oppression. Core tenets or key ideas within the religion of Sikhism, which we'll learn about throughout this course. It consists of 3 weapons and a circle, the khanda, 2 kirpans, and the chakar, which is a circle. It is the military emblem of the Sikh. So the khanda, it's like this dual-edged sword. We can see an example here. That's this weapon here. This dual-edged sword. Then we have the 2 kirpans. That's this knife here, the middle one. And that's what we see here on this side and this side. And this is what Sikh men carry on them at all times. And then the third is the chakar, which is a throwing weapon. It looks kind of like this, and that's what this circle is at the back here. So this is a symbolic representation of Sikhism. It's very common to see this as a sign of Sikhism. Perhaps similarly to how the cross is the symbol of Christianity. This is one symbol you'll see closely related with Sikhism. So now in terms of a historical overview, Sikh history and religion are inextricably intertwined. It is impossible to study the religion of the Sikhs without reference to their history. Likewise, it is impossible to study the history without frequent recourse to their religion. The religion was born in historical events and continues to evolve in intimate response to the unfolding pattern of events. So we have a map here. This map on the left, you see right in the middle is India there. You've got China up to the east, up to the northwest. You've got Afghanistan and Pakistan here. You've got the border here between India and Pakistan. And then this map, the second map over here, is a zoomed in section looking at, you can see up here, this is showing what it's zoomed in on. It's zoomed in on the border between Pakistan and India. And what we see here is this grey region. You do see the same grey region over here, this whole section that goes through both India and Pakistan. Zoomed up here, you can see it even more clearly. You've got this whole region here. Famous piece of geography, you've got these 5 rivers. That's what this region is known for. I believe that's what the word Punjab means. It's a reference to these 5 rivers. So the key to the map here gives us some insight. This light grey area, which is this whole section outlined at the start, is the historic Sikh homeland. The greater Punjab also includes the darker area as well. However, after post-1966, we have what's known as the Indian state Punjab, which is this darker grey area in here where I've outlined with red. So because of political changes, this became the Indian state of Punjab. You got the national border, so you can see the broader region goes through both Pakistan and India, but this more narrow state is just the smaller region here, solely within India. That'll be relevant as we consider other things going forward, so keep this map available and somewhere where you can refer back to it. So Sikhism traces its beginnings to Guru Nanak, very important name, who was born in 1469. So this is quite a late developing religion in terms of some of the other religions we've studied. Christianity, of course, going back to Christ 2,000 years ago, and further still when we consider the Old Testament as well. 1469, this was close to the time of the Reformation, just for a bit of context. So by this time, the papacy was well established in Europe, and developments were happening majorly across that side of the world. But in 1469, Guru Nanak was born, and he died in either 1538 or 1539. He was born in what is today Lahore, Pakistan, in the Punjab region of India, Pakistan. Just to show you where Lahore is, you can probably see it there on your map. Just here, close to the border between India and Pakistan, on the Pakistan side of the border. With the life of Guru Nanak, the account of the Sikh faith begins. All Sikhs acknowledging him as their founder. Stories of the life of Nanak abound, but they are related in hagiographies, known as Janam Sakhis, and very few can be authenticated. We'll talk more about this at a later point, just in terms of definitions of words. Hagiographies comes from, you'll be familiar with autobiography or biography. An autobiography is a self-biography. A biography is a so you've got a few words. Graphe, which means writing. Bios, which means life. So biography, bios graphe is writing about someone's life, and autobiography is writing about your own life. Hagiography comes from this Greek word, hagios, which means saint or holy person. Now, a hagiography is writing about someone's life in a way that really emphasizes the positives and mentions almost no negatives whatsoever. A hagiography is a writing about someone's life that seeks to glorify them and lift them up, and praise them as a saint. So the writings or the stories we have about the life of Guru Nanak are related to us in hagiographies known as Janam Sakhis. Nanak was a Hindu born in the Punjab village of Talwandi, 40 miles west of Lahore. He was sent to the town of Sultanpur and worked in the local ruler's commissariat. While there, he evidently underwent the experience that convinced him of his divine mission. For several years he journeyed around India and perhaps beyond, returning to the Punjab in the early 1520s. He spent his final years in the village of Kartarpur on the Ravi River, receiving the people who came to hear the teachings that were increasingly winning him a following. While working for the government in Sultanpur, the actions of the officials disgusted him, as they exploited ordinary people. He also detested the caste divisions that he saw all around. Um, Most of you will know that in India they have what's called a caste system that separates people based on the family they're born into, um, and that system itself has many issues, which we will explore further in a future lesson. We move now to 9 key teachings or key ideas that are promoted by the Sikh religion, 9 kind of foundational ideas that we need to come to terms with in order to understand the Sikh religion. So we'll work through these one at a time. It's going to be important to remember what these are, and to have this section highlighted thoroughly so that you can respond to questions later. So firstly, the first key point is inclusivism and equality. So after having a spiritual experience where he was swept into heaven and spoken to by God, he returned declaring, this is Guru Nanak returned declaring, very famous statement, there is no Hindu, there is no Muslim, there is only God. This emphasized the idea of the equality of all people and pushed back against all ethnic, religious, and caste divisions. Guru Nanak promoted the acceptance of all individuals and resisted sects among mankind. Guru Nanak saw that each religion had an inner spirituality that transcended religious labels. So that's a first and key important idea that we're going to delve into in a lot more detail in a future lesson. The second key foundation is Ik Onkar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Someone can correct me later if I'm wrong. Another core teaching of Guru Nanak and all following gurus was Ik Onkar, or there is one God. Other translations for these words are possible and will be considered in a future session. Off to the side here, this is the script for Ik Onkar. 2 words. This is the word Ik. It's literally the numeral 1, and then this word Onkar is the second word. And there's lots of discussion around the best way to translate this. But the key emphasis, nonetheless, is the oneness idea. So we'll explore later in a future lesson. The key question here is, what is the Sikh view of God? Is it monotheistic? Is it pantheistic? Or is it something else? Obviously, with this emphasis on oneness, it's certainly not going to be a polytheistic religion. So we can rule that out here. But then the question is, what is this idea of oneness? Is it a monotheistic oneness, a pantheistic oneness, or something else altogether? But we'll get into that not here and now. The third important aspect to understand is the nature of the gurus. So following Guru Nanak, there were 10 more human gurus who led the Sikh community. We'll explore their lives in a future lesson as well. So number 1, Guru Nanak, Guru Angad, Guru Amar Das, Guru Ram Das, Guru Arjan Dev, Guru Har Gobind, Guru Har Rai, Guru Har Kishan, and Guru Tegh Bahadur, and Guru Gobind Singh. Please forgive me if my pronunciation was very bad there. I'm sure I pronounced at least a few of those horribly, so please forgive me. 10 gurus following Guru Nanak. Each of them, in their own right, were the leader of the Sikh community for a different period of time. But something important to understand, the concept of guru embraces more than 10 human gurus. The Gurbani, the utterance of the guru, is embodied in the scriptures. Since the death of Guru Gobind Singh in 1708, these have been consulted and venerated as a living guide known as the Guru Granth Sahib. We'll talk more about this shortly as a separate point worth considering. So the main point to make here is that the Sikh religion is a religion of gurus as the authority. However, there were 10 gurus, and now the 11th guru, it's not a living guru, rather it's the Guru Granth Sahib, which is the holy scriptures of the Sikh religion. Also, guru is a name for God, the divine preceptor, who was guru to the first human guru, Guru Nanak. The Sikh word Waheguru for God, as well as God's title Satguru, the true guru, are further reminders of this. So God is also a guru in the Sikh religion. Number 4, unlike Semitic religion and Western religion, Sikhs do not believe in an idea of either heaven or hell. Rather, they believe that our existence is a cycle of birth, death, and reincarnation. Their concept of karma is slightly different to that of Hindus and Jains, because Sikhs believe that each person's karma is modified by God, such that every person can become a good person. The goal of the Sikh life is to break free from the cycle of death and reincarnation. The goal is to transcend this cycle and re-merge one's soul back into God's soul. This kind of liberation and freeing of the soul is called mukti. So, essentially the idea is this: you're born into the world, you go through life, and after you die, you're reincarnated in this cycle. And it just goes around and around. And the goal of the Sikh life is to transcend the cycle, to break this cycle, to get out of this cycle, and to reunite your soul with God's. And this process of transcending reincarnation is called mukti. Fifth, connected, following on from the last point, Sikhs believe that God created reality and that He is reality, or He is in all of reality. However, we forget this because we are distracted by Maya, or illusion. That's what the word Maya means. Maya is anything that takes your mind off God. This separation that is created between man and God is what causes the cycle of rebirth to continue. So, why is it that we're stuck in this cycle? Well, it's because we're distracted from God. We can't get out of this cycle and transcend towards God because we're stuck in this cycle by Maya, by this illusion that distracts us. It takes our minds off God and points our minds towards something else. This separation that is created between man and God is what causes the cycle to continue. According to Sikh theology, this distraction is driven by 5 thieves. This is a phrase that they use, I believe. 5 thieves. What are the 5 thieves? Lust, anger, greed, attachment, and pride. So as people live selfishly, they fail to recognize their connectedness with one another and with God. Someone who lives this way is called manmukh, which means facing towards oneself. Another important word, just in terms of capturing some of the vocabulary here, manmukh means facing towards oneself. If you're manmukh, you're captured by these 5 thieves, and you're going to be stuck in the cycle of reincarnation. Instead of being manmukh, Sikhs should desire to be gurmukh, facing towards the Guru. The way gurmukh is achieved is through observance of the 3 pillars. And this brings us then, of course, to the next section, the 3 pillars. The path towards Gurmukh, facing towards the Guru, and ultimate liberation of the soul is through the observance of these three pillars. Really important, Nam Japo, which is meditation, meditating on God's names, and having this spiritual experience through meditation with God. We can transcend our earthly experience and move towards being Gurmukh. Kirat Kani, working hard to earn an honest living. Just a good general principle, but for the Sikh, this is foundational to becoming a God-oriented person. And then third, Wand Chakna, sharing the fruits of your labor with others, giving to charity, supporting the needy. And we'll look a little bit later in a future lesson at one of the key ways the Sikh community do this, and that's through sharing food out of their temples, out of their places of worship. So we'll see that in a future lesson. Point number 7, the Khalsa. So in 1699, the last of the 10 gurus, Guru Gobind Singh, so going back here, this guy, Guru Gobind Singh, last of the 10 gurus, he established what's known as the Khalsa. Just to give the super brief overview of the story, and this is really important. This is really going to help you understand why Sikhs have their unique identity that we see today. In 1699, the last of the 10 human gurus, Guru Gobind Singh, helpful to know which guru is connected with this event. Will just help you have some of the details more clearly in your head. So Guru Gobind Singh summoned his disciples at Anandpur and called for a human sacrifice. After a pause in the shocked crowd, one Sikh man went forward and followed the Guru into his tent. Guru Gobind Singh emerged from the tent with a bloody sword. He repeated this 4 more times, and each time a man offered himself and went forward. After all 5 men had entered the tent, they each emerged with the Guru, and they were all wearing yellow robes. The Guru declared that these men are the Panch Pyre, the 5 beloved ones. They would form the center of a new Sikh community called the Khalsa. So, what is the Khalsa? It's this new Sikh community that is established with the Panch Pyre, the 5 beloved ones who were instituted under Guru Gobind Singh. The Guru gave each a drink from a bowl of sweet water called the Amrit. All 5 men from different castes drank from the same bowl, which was entirely out of the ordinary. Further, each of them took the last name Singh, and the Guru requested to become a part of this new classless family. From then on, he was known as Guru Gobind Singh. That's where his last name comes from as well. Women became a part of the Khalsa in the same way. After drinking from the Amrit, they received the last name Kaur, meaning princess. So really important, and I think it's a really helpful story. It's easy to remember because it's a story, I think. Guru Gobind Singh summoned his followers, called for a human sacrifice. It's this moment of suspense. One person goes forward, he follows the Guru into the tent, and it seems as though he's been killed as a human sacrifice. It happens again and again and again, 5 times in total. And then after these 5 men have gone into the tent, we find out, oh no, it wasn't actually a human sacrifice. It was a test of allegiance and loyalty. And these 5 come out and become known as the Panch Pyre, the 5 beloved ones. They drink from the Amrit. They take on the last name Singh. Women take on the last name Kaur. And this creates the new Sikh community. the new Sikh community is built around this event known as the Khalsa. Important to remember. Hopefully, with that story, it'll stay in your mind. Also, this is why many Sikhs today have the last name Singh or Kaur. If you see that last name, then it's very likely that that person comes from a Sikh family. Guru Gobind Singh instructed his first initiates to adopt the 5 Ks. They learned too that these are the 5 outward signs required of a Sikh, and they are called the 5 Ks because the Punjabi name for each item begins with the letter K, Kaka in Punjabi. Kesh, uncut hair. Kanga, a comb in the hair, under the turban. Kirpan, this is a sword that Sikh men carry on themselves at all times. The kach, which is cotton breeches. It's like a type of underwear to remind them of sexual purity. And then the kara, which is a steel or iron bangle representing God, the infinity of God. The kirpan we saw earlier, right at the start with that symbol. That's this one here, that's the kirpan. Sikh men carry that today as a reminder of their obligation to fight oppression. It's not used for anything else, but the idea is that Sikh men have a responsibility to fight oppression. One thing to notice, it will be seen that the turban is not among the 5 Ks. However, it is integral to the male Khalsa Sikhs' expression of their commitment, and an insult to the turban is regarded by the Sikhs as an insult to the Panth, or the Sikh community. That's what Panth means. And then 9, finally, the Guru Granth Sahib. Sikhs believe that the volume, the Guru Granth Sahib, is the last of the Gurus in the line from Guru Nanak. The sacred volume is venerated by Sikhs as uniquely authoritative, and it is absolutely central to their lives. Its physical presence brings a sense of peace to the believer and requires a particular code of behavior. It was, according to tradition, Guru Gobind Singh who declared that his death would be the end of the human line of gurus, and that from then on, the Panth, the Sikh community, and the Granth, the book, the community and the book, would be the sixth guru. His last words, according to his follower, Bhai Nand Lal, were, "Let anyone who wishes to see the Guru come and see the Guru. Whoever wishes to hear the Guru's word, should wholeheartedly read the Granth or listen to the Granth being read." Here's a picture of what one Guru Granth Sahib looks like. Now, that's a lot of stuff to kind of take in, and just to give you a heads up, there's more stuff to take in. Once we get our heads around the broad outline of the Sikh religion, then we will be able to dive into a little bit more detail of some of the key components that we've looked at, and really consider the implications and ideas from a worldview perspective, and also from a Christian perspective, engaging with some of these ideas and even pushing back on some of them and offering a Christian perspective and critique of the Sikh religion. So that's where we're heading in the future. Hopefully this introduction has been helpful for you as a brief overview of some of the key ideas. For those of you who are Sikh, this will be probably very basic and probably feel like you're back in kids' lessons, but hopefully you can bear with us as well. I look forward to seeing you guys for the next lesson. I'll see you later, and God bless.